I would ask unanimous consent that both of these articles be entered into the record.
Without objection, thank you very much, Senator, for your comments on favorably reporting the nomination.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not completed.
I'm sorry. How much more time do you need?
5 to 10 minutes.
She has the nomination before the committee.
Yes, that's what I'm prepared to talk about right now.
I hope the senator will be mindful of the other senator's time when he uses his own.
Well, I am mindful of the other senator's time. I'm also mindful that this committee spends a ton of time on things like amnesty and not time on doing our jobs. So this committee doesn't have time to look into allegations of racism, doesn't have time to look into allegations of participating in Chinese communist propaganda, doesn't have time to look into the Biden administration releasing thousands of illegal aliens with COVID, but we have time to move political activists forward to satisfy the partisan interest of Democrats in the Senate. Let's talk about this judicial nominees. President Biden's nominee to the circuit courts have been uniformly problematic. One nominee, Gustavo Gelpi, has demonstrated record of activism from the bench and has routinely made comments that are in conflict with Canon 3A6 of the Code of Conduct of Federal Judges. Another nominee, Eunice Lee, has zero experience practicing in civil cases, yet was nominated to a court where 83% of the new appeals are civil. The nominee couldn't even tell Senator Cotton when a litigant is entitled to a jury trial, much less how many people actually sit on a civil jury. And yet, out of all the circuit nominees that we have seen so far, Myrna Perez is the most dangerous. She has been a radical and an activist for what effectively amounts to her entire career, having spent the last 15 years advocating for extreme far-left positions. She has waged campaigns against voter ID laws, describing them as the greatest rollback of voting rights in the country, even though 80% of Americans support voter ID laws and 60% of African Americans support voter ID laws. Even though voter ID laws have been upheld as constitutional by the Supreme Court in an opinion authored by Justice John Paul Stevens, one of the great liberals to serve on the court. She has opposed voter integrity laws almost across the board. And she's not just opposed to them as a matter of law. She said anyone who disagrees with her radical views and believes in ensuring the integrity of our elections must be a racist. Just 5 months ago, she said that many of the voting laws being enacted across this country are due to, quote, anxiety over the browning of America, and people having anxiety over the fact that certain folks in power are not going to be able to stay in power. I'll tell you, the folks in power that want to stay in power is Democrats in the Senate who are trying to rig the game so the voters can't vote them out. Ms. Perez is opposed to laws that would prohibit ballot harvesting, a practice that invites fraud and abuse. She went so far as to say the Democratic Party's challenge to an Arizona law prohibiting ballot harvesting was clear-cut, and that an amicus brief that I led on behalf of 11 senators supporting that common-sense law was, quote, outrageous and dangerous. Supreme Court, thankfully, did not agree with Ms. Perez's left-wing views, and indeed, by a vote of 6-3, agreed with the position advocated in my amicus brief, which is that common-sense bills prohibiting voter harvesting are constitutional. Ms. Perez has also argued the Constitution requires allowing felons to vote, even though the 14th Amendment explicitly in the text recognizes that states have the ability to prohibit felons from voting. So never mind what's in the Constitution. She's prepared to read it to mandate the policy outcome she wants. Text be damned. Now, a shrewd observer may think, where have I heard all of these policy positions before? And the answer, of course, is S1, the Corrupt Politicians Act. If Ms. Perez is confirmed, she will be the judicial equivalent of a judge who will mandate the Corrupt Politicians Act. Never mind getting it through Congress. You may not have the votes in Congress, but if you put an activist judge on the bench, she can order the policy outcomes you like, never mind the law. Banning voter ID, you betcha she'd do it in a heartbeat. Requiring states to allow ballot harvesting, check. She's going to be there too. Allowing felons to vote, you betcha. Prohibiting voter integrity laws, 100%. And that's exactly what Democrats want on the bench. Democrats have a long courts what they can't get through the democratic process. And that's what they're trying to do with Ms. Perez. They can't pass the Corrupt Politicians Act, so they're trying to do the next best thing, which is confirm a radical to the bench who will impose those policies from the bench. And the amazing thing is, Senate Democrats are not even hiding the fact that Ms. Perez has been nominated precisely because she will be a partisan from the bench. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, in a moment of raw honesty, went off script when introducing Ms. Perez at her hearing, and he said that he wants Ms. Perez on the bench because she will, quote, persuade fellow members of the Second Circuit to the righteousness of the causes that she will follow. Well, I appreciate Senator Schumer's candor. And if you were nominating someone to be a left-wing activist, this would be one heck of an endorsement. But this is damning for a judicial nominee. Chuck Schumer is telling Democrats this is going to be a righteous advocate of causes. Throw out all pretense of judicial objectivity. Throw out all pretense of following the law. She's going to be a left-wing activist. And it's not only Senator Schumer that has let slip Ms. Perez's political activism. Chairman Durbin praised an article she wrote entitled, quote, "The GOP Campaign to Make Elections Less Free." Chairman is nodding. He apparently thinks it's a good thing for federal judges to be blazingly partisan. Chairman Durbin said he would, quote, "gladly give her article as a speech from him personally on the floor of the Senate any day of the week." Mr. Chairman, I agree. You're a partisan Democrat. You're entitled to be a partisan Democrat. We shouldn't have judges that treat the judiciary like they're partisan Democrats. I will note Senator Leahy said a minute ago, the reason for Republicans' opposition is she's a woman. Now, call me crazy, but I seem to recall a hearing not that long ago for a judge named Amy Coney Barrett, who had extraordinary academic background, who had an extraordinary record, and who every Senate Democrat happily voted against, who Democrats on this committee asked Judge Barrett, "Have you ever sexually assaulted anyone?" That was a unique moment in the history of the Judiciary Committee. Democrats on this committee had previously said about her Catholic faith, the dogma lives loudly in this one. Now, I'm not going to suggest that that was because she was a woman, which is what Senator Leahy suggested of our concerns with this nominee. I'm going to suggest it's because Democrats want left-wing partisans on the bench, and Justice Barrett is not a left-wing partisan. Neither Senator Schumer nor Chairman Durbin is wrong about Ms. Perez. She's given us every reason to believe that she will continue her radical activism if she's confirmed. Nominees who care about the judicial role, who care about the appearance of bias, who care about demonstrating a judicial temperament, will take on a judicial role as soon as they even think about the possibility of becoming a judge. But Ms. Perez has demonstrated, even when she was in the process of being nominated to the court, she's a partisan, and a partisan she will stay. After she had submitted her judicial application, after she'd had multiple conversations with a member of Senator Schumer's screening committee, speaking with Senator Schumer's staff, personally interviewing with Senator Schumer to be a judge, she continued to engage in rank partisanship. About a week after interviewing with Senator Schumer, she spoke on a virtual panel where she said that voting integrity laws were the result of, quote, anxiety over the browning of America. Ladies and gentlemen of America, get ready for a judge in a robe who, if you disagree with her political policy, is going to call you a racist from the bench, because she was prepared to call anyone who disagreed with her a racist while she was interviewing to be a judge. later even deeper into the process, when she was in contact with the White House counsel's office. She disparaged originalists as, quote, people who think that we were at our best when our country was first founded and didn't include women or people of color or people. So apparently, Judge Perez is saying, Clarence Thomas, who's an originalist, thought we were better when people of color were not allowed to vote. She's saying Justice Barrett, who's an originalist, thought we were better when women weren't able to vote. What utter garbage. That's not what any rational, reasonable, fair-minded person says, but it is what a left-wing activist and extremist says. And she did this when she was deep into the process of being considered to be a federal appellate judge. Senator Schumer, Chairman Durbin are both right. This nominee is and always has been a left-wing activist. And as she's confirmed to the Federal Court of Appeals, she'll continue to be a left-wing activist. Unfortunately, that's what our Democratic colleagues want. In a moment, we're going to vote on this judge, and I'm going to predict that every single Democrat is going to dutifully salute and say aye. Confirm the activist. To heck with judicial independence. To heck with judicial temperament. To heck with following the law. We have a left-wing partisan agenda, and we want judges to force them on the people. Never mind democracy. Never mind the will of the voters. We want to exercise power. When it comes to priorities, I think that is a profoundly misplaced priority.
On favorably reporting the nomination of Myrna Perez to be U.S. Circuit Judge